This had to be expected after Saturday's Old Firm defeat to Rangers, no?
Yes, I mean, yeah, it's been a really difficult period for Wilfried Nancy. I mean, going in there halfway through the season, but to lose six out of his first eight games, and it's a little bit similar to the Ruben Amorim situation at Manchester United, but over a shorter period, in that he was fixated on changing Celtic's style, going to a 3-4-3, playing in one particular way, and he just wasn't adaptable. And for Celtic to lose six out of eight games under him, and for them to ship as many goals as they did do, I mean, it was kamikaze stuff really from Wilfried Nancy. And as much as you want to give a manager time, I think Celtic have acted pretty decisively, because there's still a league title to win.
Yeah, as you mentioned there, that record, losing six of his eight games. He was in charge for just 36 days. Have you ever seen anything like this?
No, not really. I mean, Glasgow's wild as a footballing city. We saw Russell Martin at Rangers lose his job. After, I mean, he had more time than Wilfried Nancy. But I don't think Wilfried Nancy necessarily did himself any favours, with his inability to adapt, and then I mean, the game before Rangers, the Motherwell loss, where Motherwell played Celtic off the park, they controlled the game for 90 minutes. Listen, Celtic can lose to Motherwell. Motherwell are a well-organised team, but the manner of that loss, I mean, that was humiliating enough. And I think a lot of Celtic fans thought at that moment, that's time for Wilfried Nancy to go. But then he took charge of the game against Rangers, and Celtic played well in the first half. But a theme of Celtic's displays under Wilfried Nancy is they played in patches, and they played well in the first half against Rangers, but then showed their vulnerability in the second half, and ended up losing the game. And I thought there was an inevitability after the game on Saturday that Wilfried Nancy would just head straight out of the door, and he'd have been sacked on Saturday. That didn't happen. They've taken the time a little bit, and I suppose for Celtic it's what's next. But I think it's the right decision, because Celtic have to give themselves the best possible chance of winning the Scottish Premiership, and I think the best possible chance is to get somebody else in.
Yeah, Chris, how much of the blame do the players have to take?
I think the players have to take their fair share of responsibility. But I mean, listen, Celtic's poor form this season, wasn't just under Wilfried Nancy. There were issues before that. At the start of the season, the end for Brendan Rodgers. Brendan Rodgers wanted more quality in terms of playing personnel brought to the club. That didn't happen. That was an unsavoury end where after that he was filleted by Dermot Desmond in a statement. Martin O'Neill came in and things brightened up a little bit. Martin, winning 7 out of 8 games, did a brilliant job. But the team still, in my opinion, weren't playing particularly well. And I think Martin was aware of that. But then for Wilfried Nancy to come in and tear everything up, and if he was going to do it his way, the justification was in winning games. He didn't do that. But the problems at Celtic do run a lot deeper than just, Wilfried Nancy. But Wilfried didn't do himself any favours.
Yeah, Paul Tisdale has also left his position as head of football operations. You mentioned deep issues at the club. Does this kind of highlight just how deep they are?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, he's self-proclaimed doctor, Dr. Doolittle. I think he was at Celtic. Nobody knew what he actually was doing at the club. By all accounts, it was a case of him who had a large say in bringing Wilfried Nancy in. If he was in charge of recruitment over the summer, that was particularly poor. So, I think it's the right decision for him to part ways, but it certainly puts Celtic under pressure now in having to move quick in terms of recruitment, because there's absolutely no doubt that this squad needs strengthening in January, and strengthening quickly. And then, of course, what happens next? Will it be a return for Martin O'Neill? Will Sean Maloney, be part of that team? I suspect he will be, but it's all about Celtic just concentrating on winning the Scottish Premiership now, and of course it looks like it's going to be a 3-horse race in that respect. But I think that that the decision today was the right decision. Maybe myself, like a lot of Celtic fans, just thought it would happen after the game against Rangers. It didn't, but they've been decisive enough. The club have.
Well, you've just put the question out there, and I was going to ask you, what next? Do they go back to Martin O'Neill? What do you think?
I think short term that would probably be the safest move from Celtic, to do that and bring Sean Maloney back. It's just in the short term. It's just for Celtic. It's just about winning games and giving themselves a chance of winning the Premiership. Martin did brilliantly in a short space of time. Knowing Martin like I do, and having spoken to Martin from his brief time when he was at Celtic, I think that he is on record as saying that the club need to add in January. So that would seem to be the safest option and the most sensible option. I'm all for long-term planning at football clubs, but in the short term, Celtic have to think about the here and now, winning the Premiership and trying to get back into the Champions League for next season.
Really is the big aim, isn't it? The title at the end of the season. And I know we won't have an answer until the end of the season, but what do you think this decision means for the title race?
I think the decision means Celtic have a far greater chance of winning the title. Keeping Wilfried Nancy in position would have been too much of a risk. Listen, he was a stickler. He was set in his ways. I don't understand why he couldn't adapt a little bit. A lot of people thought he would come in and have an approach where he just tweaked things. I said on Saturday, at the Celtic Rangers game, Martin tweaked things a little bit from Brendan Rodgers, stayed with that back four, but tweaked things within the system. Wilfried Nancy, trashed that. He wanted to go his way, but that for Will Nancy, it wasn't the right way. It was one way. And he wasn't flexible enough. And you never like to see anybody lose the job, but it did feel like the job was too big for Wilfried Nancy.